Hopefully you boys have started putting honey into your coffee because it's really scrumptious. Yes, Casanovians. Another day, another live. Alright, I want to talk to you boys about the unfair advantage that I've got over you when it comes to dating. And I'm going to start off by telling this little story from an experience I had yesterday. So, yesterday I had probably one of the worst dates I've ever been on in my life. Certainly since I started this whole cold approach thing. It was such a bad date, and I'm going to narrate the calamity of that date to you. So hopefully you can get a nice hit of Schadenfreude from that, and you can lol at my misfortune. And then I'm gonna hit on an idea which I think is gonna be really pivotal, or in your personal renaissance. And it's not gonna be one of those nonsense live streams where it's like looks, money, status. You know, you need to get a six-pack, and that's your unfair advantage in the sexual marketplace. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to hit on something that you've probably not considered before. And by watching this live stream all the way through, you will have a competitive advantage over 99.9% of guys who are just sleepwalking their way through life. So, yeah, let's talk about the calamity of the date. So, I rock up to this date. We're in a beer garden. I get there. She arrives, and then, you know, as soon as someone just arrives or someone just comes into your presence, and it's like the energy just dies. Like, I was having such a good time in this beer garden on my own. I was like speaking with some of my friends. I was interacting with the other people in the garden. I was enjoying the good weather. I was like, life is amazing. Bangkok, love you, mwah. Anyway, she rocks up, and look, I'm in a place now where I do my best not to judge anybody for anything, because like if I was them, I would do exactly the same. So she rocked up to the day, and she'd obviously just had a really bad day. So she sat down, she puffed out her cheeks, and then she spent the next 20 minutes on this tirade about how difficult her day had been. And then the deeper we got in, like there was just no attraction there anymore for me. Like when I first met her, it was flirty fireworks. I was like, yeah, this girl's cool. I'm really excited to see her. But then it was like Jekyll and Hyde. It was like night and day. It was like during that initial conversation, she presented her best self. But then on the date, it was like she didn't really want to be there, which I understand. Like, I think we've all been in those positions. But then as the date progressed, she started telling me this weird story about how at the moment she's living with this guy who she met on Bumble, right? And it's like he's just staying at her place. I think he's living there rent free. And like the more details she started sharing, I'm just like in my head thinking, there is no way I'm going back to your place. Like there was no attraction there for me at this point. Just some of the things that she was saying, I was like, why are you telling me this? So anyway, the date didn't last for that long. I think we were in each other's company maybe like no longer than an hour, and I was like, right, cool, it's been really fun hanging out with you. I still paid because that's just how I like to roll with my dates. I don't want to be one of those losers who's like, oh, let's go 50-50, let's split the bill. It's like, nah, I've invited the girl out. She's my date for that night. So anyway, it's not even that fucking expensive anyway. We got a taxi back together because we actually don't live that far away. But yeah, I just gave her a hug and I said, listen, it was good hanging out with you. Have a good night. I think it was a mutual feeling as well. But anyway, it was just a terrible day from start to finish. And the reason why I want to narrate this story is, first of all, I'm always, well, on a lot of these live streams, I say things such as, it's either going to go well or you've got a funny story, right? Even though I make a full-time living teaching guys how to live top 1% dating lives, even though my job is helping guys bring beautiful girls into their lives, get the women they want, rather than settling for ones they think they can get, I've spoken in the past on these streams about this notion of amused mastery or transcendent mastery, where I will still have dates that go terrible. I'll still have car crash conversations. I'll still have girls who ghost me, girls who flake on me. I'll still go over to girls and just get an instant brutal blowout. But the thing that separates me from 99.9% of guys who are actually in this space, guys who are trying to learn this stuff, is I'm at a place now where things just don't faze me like they used to, right? I'm just able to roll with it. I'm able to adopt the mindset of William Shakespeare when he said, nothing is good nor bad. It's the thinking that makes it so. And rejection is God's protection. I really felt as though last night it was just this cosmic message from the universe being like, Kristian, this girl, she ain't for you, bro. So we're going to give you this sign. So please listen to us. That's how it felt anyway. And I just want to, I wanted to kick off with this story to first of all give you boys permission. Like, not every day is going to go your way. Like, not every time you meet a girl it's just going to be on and it's going to be flirty fireworks. Like, shit happens. It's just learning to deal with it in that way. It's like even the best Premier League footballers have bad matches. It doesn't mean that they're bad players. They just had a bad game. And I think being able to laugh at this stuff is important. Like, I think it was Winston Churchill said that success is being able to go from one failure to another without losing enthusiasm. And that's actually the main topic of this live stream, the ability to go from one failure to another without losing any enthusiasm. I think that cold approach is one of the ultimate practices of delayed gratification. And this is the unfair advantage that I want to share with you here. And it's not the looks, money, status, like do all of those things, right? I believe we should all be doing everything within our power to look and feel as good as possible, right? For me, to get great results from cold approach, you become the most fuckable version of yourself. You do a lot of approaches. You simply use game as a way to deliver your value to the world. Yes, looks matter. There's a difference between being good looking and looking good. It's within any man's power to build on what he's been given and play his hand to the best of his ability. Before anyone wants to go in the comments and be like, it's all about looks. Yes, looks matter, but it's not the be all and end all. It's the way that we think, right? This is really important. I'm going to do my best to articulate it because it's still quite a fresh thought in my mind. When you first start with cold approach, you don't know what you don't know, right? You have no idea what you're doing at the start. And the reason why cold approach, in my opinion, is so difficult in the modern world is because our minds have been so indoctrinated to instant gratification. I read somewhere that we now have attention spans less than a goldfish, right? So just bear with me on this because this is genuinely gonna just like blow your mind wide open. Think about everything you do during your day-to-day life. For example, I've just taken a sip of this coffee, right? It's cause and effect. I've taken a sip of coffee, I've got a spike of dopamine in some way. I drink the coffee, it tastes nice, I feel happy. I go on my phone, I go on Instagram, oh, I have messages, I go on YouTube, oh, I've got new subscribers, I go on Spotify, I listen to music. It's instantaneous, right? Instantaneous hits of this dopamine. Now, when it comes to cold approach, yeah, you very rarely will get these immediate spikes of dopamine. The first 100 cold approaches that you do are probably not going to go anywhere. You're most likely not going to get a result, however you define a result, a phone number, a date, a happy ending, however you define it. You're most likely not going to get a result from the first 100 cold approaches. And this is why most guys quit, because their brains are so wired for instantaneous hits and spikes of dopamine. When they first go out there and it's just blowout, rejection, undesirable outcome, it's like their mind can't compute this, right? They're just like, oh, like this is not how it's supposed to play out. I'm not used to this right now. But when it comes to cold approach, the mindset that I need you to have is It's a compounding of the actions that we take, right? So let's say, for example, you're a guy and you've done 200 cold approaches, right? Let's just say you've done 200 cold approaches in your life. And let's say you go out today, right? Let's say you go out today and the third approach that you do is the best approach you've ever done in your life. You will attribute that success to that day, that girl, that approach. Oh, maybe my vibe was just on point today. Maybe I looked really good. Maybe I smelt amazing. Maybe I just got lucky. Oh, Kristian once said, going out is a lottery. You never know what you're going to get, which is true to an extent, but it's not that approach. That's not the approach that did it. It was the previous 200 approaches that got you the result there. Does that make sense? So the unfair advantage that you can have over every other guy who tries to learn this skill set is just not quitting, right? Just not quitting. If you can get past that first 100 cold approaches, right? Now you've got skin in the game. Now you know how to have a conversation. Now you know how to approach with conviction. Now you know how to close. Now you've started to build more emotional resilience. So then when you go out a week later, let's say, and you approach a couple of girls, you get a couple of numbers, it wasn't that session, it wasn't those approaches, it was all of the previous approaches. It was the compounding of the actions that you've been taking, right? I've told the story before. The youngest member in my private network, the Entourage, is 20 years old, and he recently had a trip across Spain, right? We called it his Spanish Renaissance mission. He's out there, he's solo traveling, he's approaching girls, he's speaking with them in a different language. So he's speaking with them in Spanish, he's from the UK. He's doing all of this now. I keep banging into his brain. I say to him, listen, enjoy yourself now, but what I need you to do is think in terms of decades rather than days. You're 20 years old at this point. You've still got so much life in front of you, but when you hit 25, when you get to my age, 27, when you get to 30, your 30-year-old self is going to be the product of all of the actions, all of the compounding actions that you've taken over a decade. I started performing close-up magic at 13 years old, right? At 13 years old, I was cold approaching people around parks in the Lake District to perform magic. For the first 2 months of me attempting to do this, I couldn't approach anybody. I was just too scared. I'd have the deck of cards in my pocket. It felt like some dirty secret when I was going out. I was like, oh, I can't pull these cards out in public. People are going to think I'm weird. So I had 2 months of what we would call approach anxiety, right? Like that was a tough time to be alive. Like, it was like I was watching David Blaine videos on YouTube. I was watching him perform to fucking hillbillies, and I watched him do it very much like probably when you watch my videos on YouTube, right? You're probably thinking to yourself, right, today's the day. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna do it, and then you bottle it, and then you keep bottling it, and you keep bottling it, maybe for the next 2 months or even 2 years in tragic circumstances. But I went through that approach apprenticeship period at 13 years old, right? So when it came time for me to learn cold approach, like doing what I'm doing now, when I started this at 23 years old, so a decade, right? A decade after I first started trying to perform magic, I found the process of cold approach relatively easy. Like, I was getting dates from daytime cold approach during the pandemic, right? All I knew when I started was face masks and social distancing. Like, I started in probably the worst time to learn this skill set. However, it took me 3 weeks to get my first 2 dates from cold approach. Now, I'm not saying this to brag, and I'm certainly not saying it for you to be like, oh shit, I'm failing, I'm getting left behind. No, realistically, it didn't take me 3 weeks. It actually took me 10 years, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? It took me 10 years because I've been at this approaching game since 13 years old when I was performing magic. So I've had a decade on you. Yeah, that's my unfair advantage. And that's the reason that when I work with my guys, that's the reason why they're able to get so good so fast, because they're soaking up over a decade of social practice. Yeah, like whenever I look for mentors that I want to pay, right? Whenever I want to invest my money into mentors, like last year, for example, I was part of a $10,000 coaching mastermind group. I've got no issue whatsoever of investing heavily into myself because I'm my biggest asset. I don't understand the mindset of anybody who's not prepared to invest money into themselves, right? They're not even friends anymore, but people that I used to know back in the Lake District, they spend about £500 on a Saturday night just getting pissed in a fucking Weatherspoons. And it's like they're dropping that money. So that's like what? £2,000 a month. They're dropping £2,000 a month on beer, on pizza, on just late night binging, and they're not prepared to invest into a gym membership or a coach or better do you understand how ludicrous this mindset is? And that's why I've surpassed everybody. I've surpassed everybody that I went to fucking school with, and now it's like I need to find people who are further ahead than me, who are better than me. But when I invest into mentors, I'm not investing, and this is really important, so please listen to this. I'm not investing into a mentor so they can tell me what to do. I'm investing into a mentor so they can show me how to think, right? When guys invest into me, when guys decide to pull the trigger, work with me, join my network, and travel the world with me, they think that they're working with me because I'm going to tell them what to do. Yeah, sure, I'll do that, but that's about 20% of it. What they're really paying for, what they're really investing in is the way that I think, my approach to life. Yeah, that's where the true magic is, because me and you, right? Me and you, we could both go out today and we could both do 10 direct cold approaches, and we could both get blown out, like brutally blown out every single time, right? So we both had the exact same thing happen to us. We've both gone out and we've been brutally blown out 10 times in a row. Our perception of these events will be night and day. They will be so different that it's ludicrous. Most uninitiated people would get angry, they'd get sad, they start to doubt themselves, they start to question their own sense of self-worth. Me, because after I've explained that date story to you, I'm in this place now where, yeah, of course, it's still gonna sting, it's gonna suck, right? Like, no one wants to get blown out, but throw me in hell, I'll find a way to enjoy it. I've had so much reference experience now that I understand it just is, right? I'm able to play the game on a rational perspective. So for example, last night, the date was terrible, but I don't really think twice about it anymore. I'm just like, oh, well, that happened. I'm so much more rational. I used to be so emotional when it came to anything. Like if a girl ghosted me, if a girl flaked on me, like, dude, if that date had have happened to me, let's say 5 years ago, I would have this is genuinely what I would have done. I would have came back from that day, I would have sat down on this sofa, I most likely would have cried to myself, and then I would have probably called my mum up and be like, Mum, this date went terrible, I was a lovable piece of shit. I was like, dude, I was the worst of the worst. And it's like, that's the reason why I can say what I say now. Like I've been in that exact position. The position that I started is probably worse than the position that you're in right now. Like I was just atrocious. I was terrible, right? But now, because I've done what I've done, because I've acquired the experiences that I've had, because I've been just going lightning ferocity on this journey now for like the best part of 17 years. I've just got to this point of transcendent mastery where I'm like, yeah, cool, that happened. Let's talk about it on a live stream. Let's use this to help other people. It's either going to go well or I've got a funny story. So it's like, it's the way that we think, right? Perception is reality, okay? So the unfair advantage that you can have over guys who attempt cold approach is, first of all, you need to be in this for the long haul, right? Most guys, they're just gonna go out, they'll do 10 approaches or something like that, and then they'll just give up, right? Oh, it's too hard, I'm not getting any results. Their brains are so butchered by instant gratification that they don't understand the approaches that you do today. They might not pay off for another couple of months, right? They might not. Like, you might not see the fruits of your labor for another couple of months from now. So it's like every time, I want to leave you on a really practical note, because I think that if somebody says be detached from outcome, I think that's actually quite difficult to stomach, because I'm usually like, well, if I was going to be completely detached from outcome, then I probably wouldn't do the thing in the first place. So I think that when we're first starting, the beginner mind needs an outcome to be focused on. So here's what I want you to do. Start viewing the reps themselves as the reward, right? The approach itself is the cookie, right? You're not doing the approach at the start, right? At the start, those first 100 approaches, you're not doing them to get phone numbers. You're not doing them to get dates. You're not doing them to be liked. You're doing them purely to do them, to get skin in the game, and you're investing into your future self. You are investing into the identity of the person who you want to embody. So now, when I go out and I approach girls and that approach goes really well, the reason that approach has gone so well was not because of that particular approach. It's because it's a product of all of the approaches that I've done previously. Does that make sense? Like, if you understand this, it'll stop you from throwing in the towel prematurely, and it'll also help you navigate the inevitable vicissitudes of life, of cold approach, where you can just understand, right, everything that I'm doing now, it's compounding. It works the same in business as well, or fitness. You don't just rock up at the gym on day one and have a Mr. Olympia physique. No, after training hard like a savage consistently for 5 years, you don't just get the body instantaneously. It's like after that 5-year time horizon, because you're showing up every day, those incremental improvements showing up every single day, that's how the body is sculpted. It's the compounding of mindful daily actions, right? You get your diet on point, you practice your form, you hire a personal trainer so you can get to where you want to be quicker. With business, it's like you're sending out emails every single day and you're not getting responses, but you keep doing it. Or you want to start a personal brand, so you start creating content online. For the first 6 months, you're not getting any views, but it's like you're investing in. That's what happened with me. So I'm a bit sweaty, but we move. That's what happened with me. Like when I first started this YouTube channel, in whenever it was, 2020, for the first 6 months, I wasn't getting any traction. I wasn't getting any views, right? I was just creating a video, uploading it, and then maybe I'd get 11 views at the max. And that would go on for 6 months until I started working with Daniel in London and filming the high quality infield content and started getting coached by him personally so I could actually get good at the skill set. Until December of 2020, my YouTube channel was basically invisible. No one was watching, but it's the mindset. Like, this is the mindset that, this is like, dude, this is literally the mindset that's going to make you rip-roaringly successful in any field. It's just showing up and just continuing to do the thing regardless of any reward that you're getting. It was like, right, show up, do my approaches, right, sit down, make the video, put it out there. No one's watching, that's fine. Let's focus on the next one. It's like I'm creating for an audience of one, right? It's like I'm creating for myself, I'm creating for the universe, I'm creating for God, whoever you want to be creating for. But it's like just being able to shut out the noise and just doing the thing because it pleases you to do, and because you know that the actions that you're taking now, your future self is going to thank you for it. Does all of that make sense? Dude, if you understand this, like, look, a lot of people, because you're not in the position to comprehend this stuff yet, right? I'm giving you the real shit that actually works. I'm
I'm not coming onto a live stream and being like, right, 5 tricks to get any woman into bed. Like, say that, it's not about lines and tricks and techniques, right? Like, anyone who's teaching that shit it's just that's the surface level stuff, and none of that makes a shite of difference until you've got your mindset on point, right? Internal state equals external reality. So this is the stuff that actually works. If you want to be going on multiple dates a week with gobsmackingly gorgeous girls, if you want to master the art of cold approach and unlock a skill set that does set you apart from pretty much every other guy on the planet, this is how you do it. It's by not being a victim of instant gratification. It's by taking the radical, ruthless, relentless action every single day, showing up, doing the thing, and knowing that it's the compounding of these actions which lead you to that nirvana, right? It's not just the one thing, it's the compounding of the things over a long enough time horizon. I've been at this for 17 years now, so don't compare your first chapter to my 30th, right? So, Casanovians, if you've enjoyed this live stream, drop it a like. If you resonate with me, you like what I do, and you want to learn more about the stuff that I do, then I've got 2 free online courses, which I'll link below. So you've got Conversation Killer, which teaches you how even the most introverted of guys can get started and get results from cold approach. And then you've got my Most Fuckable Man course as well, which shows you step by step how I went from an unfuckable turnip to the most fuckable version of myself. All my courses are completely free. You can download them. I'll link the links below. I love you all very much. If you enjoyed this live stream, drop it a like, subscribe to me on YouTube. I appreciate you, boys. And if you want more fucking free daily content, Instagram at Casanova Dating, right? At Casanova Dating. Go over to the Instagram, consume that stuff. I'm over there as well. I'm building that IG page at the moment, so I appreciate all of yous. And yeah, I hope that this live stream has found you well. Hopefully you got inspired by it. Go out there, treat the world like your personal playground. Do not die with your music still inside of you. All right, boys. Love yous. Bye.